morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this morning on this lovely, very hot holiday weekend? As you can see, many of your friends apparently are traveling or they're already at the beach worshiping the sun. But, you know, it's all God, right? And we're here, and I'm grateful. And we're going to say hello to our friends out there online, for we're grateful for you too. Hopefully you are staying cool. And I will say that if you or anyone you know is having difficulty in this weather, if you do not have air conditioning, if you know of someone who might be elderly, doesn't get out much, it might be a good idea to give everybody a call and just see how everyone's doing. This heat is, besides being uncomfortable, can actually be dangerous for some people. So do check on your neighbors, check on your friends and relatives, make sure that we're all staying safe. And what's really nice in this room is that it's cool today, and so for that we are grateful, and grateful for this community that supports us each in love and in that imagined possibility. What does your imagination do for your life? When you think about your life and what it could be, do you go someplace fun, maybe a little bit cooler than here, perhaps with a palm tree and a beverage with a parasol, or perhaps not? Know that your life can be whatever you want it to be. That's why we come together every Sunday, is to remind ourselves that we live in a field of infinite possibility. And it's good for us to come together in community and support each other in that, to know that truth for each other, and to be able to see in each other the light that is already shining. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for coming here to shine your light. We have a few more people sharing the platform this morning. Our practitioner today is Reverend Mary Cordova-Breen. She'll do our opening prayer and a reading, and she's also available for prayer after service, as are all of our practitioners. If you'd like a little help remembering the truth of your life, they're the ones you want to talk to. They have insight and a lot of practice in speaking words that are supportive and uplifting. So do make sure you tap that practitioner on the shoulder after service and get that little uplift for yourself. Our musician today is Drac. He's come back to play the piano for us, always a treat. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge the volunteers that keep Sunday morning going, the members of our board who come early to make sure we're set up, the guys on the sound team who light candles and turn on lights as well as move switches around, Diane in our bookstore, Mickey, our greeter. It takes a village to create a community that is as welcoming and as loving as ours. So thank you all for your part in this. All right, well, let's get started. Let's give ourselves a moment to get centered. So if you will, just take a deep breath, maybe close your eyes wherever you are, and take in the sound of the bowl. Allowing the tone to bring you into that place within that knows peace. That sanctuary of the heart where there is only you and I and Spirit as one.
So as we begin this morning, we begin in just getting comfortable in our seats. Feeling grateful for the air conditioner, for the cushion in the seat, and feeling grateful to ourselves for getting us here, for honoring our spiritual selves, realizing that our souls need to be fed also. We give thanks for this morning, knowing that Spirit speaks through Reverend Tracy and plays beautiful music through Drac. We know that each person here is blessed, and we are in our perfect place at the perfect time. And so it is. So today, move that back a little bit. I'm going to start my reading with, we're getting some reverberation, a quote from Parker Palmer. And being today is about ourselves and our true selves, he says, "What a long time it can take to become the person one has always been before we discover our deep identity. The true self within every human being that is the seed of authentic vocation." And then my reading is from Beyond Positive Thinking. Yes, there's a Beyond Positive Thinking, okay? It's my second favoriteest book in the world. And chapter 2 starts with the truth about you. If you want to take control of your life, it's important that you gain a basic understanding of who you are. Our self-image, which is the picture of ourselves that we hold in our minds, becomes the key to our lives. All our actions, feelings, and behavior, and even our abilities, are consistent with this formed picture. We literally set out the kind of person that we think that we are. What we need to be aware of is that as long as we hold onto that picture, no amount of willpower, effort, determination, or commitment will cause us to be any other way, because we're always going to act the way we see ourselves. To be any other way, we must first look at how we form our self-image. The vast majority has missed the message that all great teachers since the beginning of recorded history have tried to share with their fellow human beings. The secret of the ages, the one most incredible truth that very few realize, is that at the being level, we will call your higher self, you are spiritually whole, complete, and perfect. Just as a drop of water has all the qualities of the ocean, you have all the qualities of the Creator within you. The way to neutralize your ego is to love yourself unconditionally. Loving yourself doesn't bloat your ego. Loving yourself actually neutralizes your ego, because your ego isn't about loving yourself. Thank you.
Good morning. I love Parker Palmer. He was one of my favorite reads when I was in school at Claremont School of Theology. And I agree, it takes time to come to the truth of who we are. It's a process to get to that core of who we are. It's part of being a human. And this piece that I wrote is simple and it's short, well, shorter than many I've done. And what I'm trying to express in it is the process we go through of that tentative getting into understanding the truth of who we are that practitioners help us with, and then the dive, and sometimes how we come back out, and we tentatively look at how we are, and then we got to dive back into that truth again. It's just a human thing. So I hope you enjoy this.
I love that. Thank you. That's the one you just whipped up this week? Drac, that's the one you just whipped up this week? From a few old notes. Yeah. I'm not sure if you realize that what Drac plays when he comes to us on Sunday are his own compositions. So remarkable and just lovely, just perfect for today. So let us light the candle today for Labor Day, this holiday that we celebrate to recognize and remember those who have come before us, making our work life more balanced, more pleasant, more reasonable. Because before the laws changed in America for labor, we worked much longer, and so did our children, with fewer protections and a lot less safely. And on this day, we recognize all those who came before us to create a workplace that is humane, that is safe, that is protected, and that allows us to flourish in life. So as we personally flourish, so does each company, so does our nation, so does our economy, so does the world. So we're grateful for that and recognize it today. So when you're out there tomorrow with the barbecue, or if it's way too hot for barbecue, ordering in from Lucille's, just take a moment and recognize and remember that we are part of a tradition that says we are valuable not only for our work, but that our work is to be valued so that we might live our best life. So this is the beginning of a new month, which means we have a new theme, which is the power of new thought. I came across an article in a Science of Mind magazine from a couple years ago about the power of the new thought message, talking about elements of what it is that we teach that makes new thought so powerful, what it is that creates a different way of looking at life and where that comes from and how we practice it. And so each week this month, we're going to be talking about a couple of those aspects, and then each week practicing those particular teachings just to see what kind of a difference it makes in our own lives and even out into the world beyond us. So this week, we're talking about the nature of man, or humanity, and God. You know, we have a very different idea of what God is than some of our more traditional counterparts, at least in the way we talk about it. And I think that our languaging sometimes can be helpful, and sometimes it can sound a little abstract, a little bit heady, a little bit, well, that's a great idea, but what does that mean on, Wednesday afternoon? So that's what we're going to talk about today. What is God, and who are we in God? Stick around. So this weekend, Pat is taking rowing. She's learning how to scull, which are those nice, long, skinny boats that you see in the Olympics with the oarsmen doing this a lot. And because she's a beginner, the boat she normally uses is a little bit wider, a little bit flatter on the bottom. It's a little bit more stable, which is good for somebody who's learning. Because if you can imagine sitting on a pencil and trying to keep your balance in the water, you can see how easily you can do this, right? Apparently I shouldn't sit on a pencil in the water. Okay, so, but I already knew that. I am not the one rowing. So, what's been happening lately is that there's an outside team, a national team, that's using the boathouse in Long Beach to practice. And they come in early in the morning and they use the boats, and they don't bring them back on time for the crews that come in at regular times for their classes or their group exercise. And so her normal boat hasn't been available. So the instructor yesterday said, Pat, why don't you take the Moss? The Moss is sort of the intermediate boat. It's a little bit thinner, it's a little bit lighter, it's a little less stable. And because she's such a good student and an athlete and is used to working with a coach, she said, of course, no problem, thinking, oh no, don't let me tip, don't let me tip, don't let me tip, don't let me tip over, which she repeated to herself the whole time she was getting in the skinnier little boat, trying to find a place to put her feet. And And even at the dock, she could feel the boat tipping. So, continuing to recite her mantra of, don't let me tip, don't let me tip, don't let me tip, she made her way with her group away from the dock and out into calmer, quieter waters. And pulled herself into her core, because it takes a lot of core strength to balance. And if you don't believe me, try standing on one foot. You need your core to do that, yes? And in that quieter place, she was reminded of what her coach had told her before and what has worked for her in the past, which was be one with the water and listen to the boat. Be one with the water and listen to the boat. And she began to row. And she began to glide through the water, easily, effortlessly, with a rhythm of her hands and her legs and her breathing, all allowing the boat forward motion, perfectly stable and at ease. What if that feeling of finding your center and being balanced and moving forward easily, what if that's God? What if that is the energy of all life? What if that is the power that fuels and animates everything that we are and everything in and as everything else? It's a moment of feeling centered. It's a moment of being present with what is. You can't stay balanced if you're not aware of where you are in space and time. So to be in the present moment, to be in perfect awareness and in tune and aligned in your own life, physically as well as mentally and emotionally and spiritually. That is the spiritual awareness of ourselves, our capital S self that we all sense within. And isn't that what we're all looking for? Isn't that what all the driving and the striving and the achieving and the anxiety and the searching and the longing, isn't that what all that's for? Is to get back to that point of feeling balanced and in alignment and in your power. Doesn't that move everything that we do? And so what the New Thought message brings us to begin with is this perspective on life that says that power is available within us always. Now, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, talks about this in his book, The Art of Life. Some of you who have older copies may have a copy on your shelf called This Thing Called Life, same book. He says, there is a universal wholeness seeking expression through everything. We are calling it simply life. The religionist calls it God. The philosopher calls it reality. Life is infinite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. It is the invisible essence and substance of every visible form. Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this inevitable life. All human endeavor is an attempt to get back to first principles, to find such an inward wholeness that all sense of fear, doubt, and uncertainty vanishes. The science of mind is merely one of the tools we use in giving expression to the life principle. Our greatest satisfaction lies not in the fact that we can use this principle, but in the realization that such a power exists and that we are one with it. If we carry a light into a darkened room, the darkness is dissipated without any effort on our part. So it is in the experience of one who has a deep consciousness of life. Something invisible but all-penetrating will flow through their every look and gesture. People will feel better by sitting in their presence. Healings, take place automatically. This divine presence reveals itself in everyone where there is recognition of it. Religion is a form, a structure, if you will, that's given to our attempt to understand our place in life, our place in the universe. How does this power that is greater than we are, that we can sense, that we sometimes experience, how are we in relationship to that? Because when we look around at the world, the material world, it doesn't appear that our relationships are a given, that ease is a given, that peace is normal, right? It feels like something we have to make happen or create. Religion attempts to give us a framework for that. To say this is what God is and this is who we are and this is how we relate to each other. All of the sacred texts endeavor to relay what the enlightened ones of that tradition, that culture, that time experienced for themselves and wanted to share with everyone. But they're all written by people through their heritage, their consciousness, their culture of the times. The mystics look beyond the physical. They seek the meaning beyond the deeper meaning of what is written to a place where there is a oneness that every mystic from every tradition always describes. That life is interconnected. That there is an energy and a love that is infinitely present, everywhere present. So beyond the physical experience, beyond our human opinions or culture or what the latest trend is in thinking, beyond positive thinking, there is a place of truth. And every spiritual path contains threads of truth where in reality they all agree. We all teach love. We all teach peace. We all teach the web of life. We all teach do unto others as you would have them do unto you. New thought in and of itself is not new. You'll sometimes see it written as new thought, ancient wisdom. There are many a Greek philosopher who teach and speak the same words, the same ideas that we do today. Marcus Aurelius said, "Never forget that the universe is a single living organism possessed of one substance and one soul, holding all things suspended in a single consciousness and creating all things with a single purpose, that they might work together, spinning and weaving and knotting whatever comes to pass." It's the one mind of science of mind. Mind in this sense meaning consciousness, that which is contained in everything. Through the ages, this dance between the human and the divine has always been. We've been trying to figure it out forever, right? So we are seeking in New Thought to make it practical. So it's not just something you study in college in your philosophy class, and you probably still have the book on your bookshelf that you haven't opened since then. Yes? Yes. But if we can realize that truth in our own lives, if there's a way for us to actually live from that, to act as if, to really tap into a bigger perspective of life, then we are all better for it. And we all have something to offer life which is unique. And every spiritual path raises up its adherents in that they are also seeking the same thing. So what it made me think of was a kaleidoscope. You all had a kaleidoscope as a kid, right? It's a tube, and in the end there's like little bits of colored glass, and when you hold it up to the light and rotate the glass in its container, the light shines through and creates all of these patterns. No pattern is ever the same. No kaleidoscope is exactly the same. All of them are different. They are all made beautiful by the same light. And although each kaleidoscope appears to be separate, the light itself is everywhere present and accessible to all. And the way that light shows up is different, kaleidoscope by kaleidoscope. So we each reflect spirit into the world uniquely as us, and yet it's all reflecting the same source. Each of us is part of, reflection of, the light that is everything. The light that is everything. So we don't need in Science of Mind to dilute or disagree with any other religion or any other spiritual path. Everyone is welcome in this philosophy. What we do is we seek to understand how to recognize the light in ourselves and how to see it in other people. Because some people seem kind of dark. Some people, well, let's just say it doesn't feel like oneness all the time. But look at it this way. When you have an argument with your spouse or your best friend, you don't ever doubt, well, maybe you do sometimes, most of the time, you don't doubt the love that holds the entire relationship, right? You have this blip of a disagreement, but you don't doubt that you're still friends. You don't say that you're not going to be married anymore. You recognize that the ups and downs of everyday life don't really touch the love that is the foundation of all. Or if you want to put it in more modern terms, a disturbance in the force does not deplete the force. Okay, thank you, Star Wars friends. All right, so we have this energy of life in us. So does everybody else. And yet it seems rather chaotic and not always smooth and easy, and we're not always gliding on the surface. A lot of times we feel darn tippy. And so I want to turn to the teaching symbol that's up here on the wall behind me, this circle. This circle that represents the all in all. All of life. This circle is all of life. There's not really outside the circle and inside the circle. The circle itself is a symbol of allness. And within that circle, there is room for everything. So the top third always represents the infinite intelligence, the divine idea, the inspiration, the idea, the new thought that shows up, the creative seeds, if you will, for life. It is the part that we would consider spirit. Can't see it, but we all respond to it. That bottom third is form. That's the world that we see. That's the body that we have. That's the circumstances we find ourselves in. It's the way that spirit shows up in form in this world. Expressing. What does expressing mean? To press outward. So what is invisible in spirit is pressed out into something visible. And it goes through that middle section. That V is the path that it takes through that middle section or soul, which is two things. It's the law, it's the spiritual law, it's the way life works. If you look for the negative, you'll always find the negative. If you look for the positive, you'll always find the positive. The way life works with our little bits of colored glass. What filters do we have? How were we raised? What's our perspective on life? We're sort of like whether or not we're really fertilizing those good ideas or we're only just letting the weeds go wild. How good are we at using those spiritual principles to bring forth the positive in our lives? the growth in our lives. Because we're going to grow one way or another. That little middle section is where we control the direction. What this means is that all of the ups and downs that take place in the bottom third are changeable, right? A new idea is going to bring a new form into existence. If you're tired of cucumbers, plant radishes. Your choice. If you're tired of toxic relationships, walk away, plant love. Start with yourself and watch it spread throughout the garden. A New Thought, we're taught that this power, this process of creation, is something within each of us. It's a power greater than each of us individually has. But it is a power that we can use. It is a power that resides right where we are. And the way we find it is by moving into that quieter, calmer place where we can get centered, where we can breathe into the soul of our being, where we can bring our attention to the present moment rather than the future or the past, rather than the problem and the obstacles. Bring ourselves to a moment where we remind ourselves that there's more to life than whatever it is I'm looking at right now. And in doing that, we turn to that spiritual power, not as someone might turn to a person and ask for help, which is what traditional religion teaches for God, but that we might settle into a greater truth that we can use. To remind ourselves that we are never far away from unconditional love. That we are never separated from our good, no matter what it looks like. Now, Science of Mind get asked often whether or not we're Christian. And in this little book called How to Speak Religious Science, there are little definitions of terms that are used or that we discuss often. So what's the New Thought take on whether or not we are Christian? And what it says is a Christian by definition is one who, number one, believes in Jesus Christ, and number two, follows his teachings. In the traditional sense, we do not consider ourselves Christian because we do not claim the man Jesus as our Savior. However, we do believe in his teachings. The Science of Mind textbook is largely based on his teachings. But what about the Christ part of that? First of all, it says it's important to understand that Christ was not Jesus' last name. Don't know if you knew that or not. It is a title which acknowledges the fact that he fully understood and demonstrated his divine nature. The word Christ comes from the Greek, which means anointed or enlightened one. It's a universal idea. All enlightened teachers and beings of the ages have lived from their divine nature, which is why they had such an impact on us even today. And to the degree that we surrender our limited thinking, when we get out of our own way, so to speak, that is the degree to which we can also live our divine nature. We see Jesus as a way shower, as the example of what it means to live knowing your spiritual truth. But it's up to each of us to decide whether that spiritual truth shows up in the form of Christianity or Judaism or Islam or Baha'i or whatever. We can be whatever and still live spiritual truth. And that is what New Thought teaches. That the path that speaks to your heart, that opens you to a greater expression of love in the world, is your path. And we share those golden threads of truth amongst us all. The message of his teachings are unconditional love, non-judgment, forgiveness, brotherhood, and peace. It's really more of a lifestyle than a religion. Now, we have in Science of Mind lots of names for God. Ernest Holmes, I think somebody made a list in ministerial school, and it was like page and a half long, double columns. Infinite intelligence, divine wisdom, first cause, substance, Mother Nature. You could use the names from any other tradition. And we're all describing the same thing, that something that is greater than we are, that is the power and energy of life. In a couple places, he talks about the ethers, which, since he was born at the beginning of the 1900s, makes a lot of sense. That was a scientific term, the ethers. You know, now we talk about the energetic vibration of subatomic particles, and we're really talking about the same thing. It's an energy that's present in anything at its foundational level. We really are made of star stuff. Everything that you see, animate or inanimate, has a vibration. We really are all made of the same substance, or as Holmes says, the God stuff. That's who we are. All these names, all these paths, to describe something that is truly ineffable. That was my favorite word of the week, ineffable. That which is beyond words. That which cannot be clearly expressed. We don't have words for what God is. But we do know, just as we are more than the humanity that we express as, that God is more than a person or deity in the sky handing out judgment or punishment. It is truly the very essence of love and energy that sustains life in all of its forms. And because we don't really have words, we turn to symbol or story or metaphor, just as they have in all sacred scriptures. And I offer you this one. Picture a wave in the ocean. You can see it. You can measure its height. You can see the way the sunlight refracts when it passes through. And it's there. It's there. You know what it is. You can see it. It's right there. It's a wave. And then it crashes into the shore, and it's gone. But the water's still there. The wave was just a little different way for the water to be for a little while. The wave returns to the ocean, where it came from, where it's supposed to be. When we can live life knowing that we are where we are supposed to be, when we can live our lives really feeling that we belong here, that we are a part of the whole, then that wholeness begins to represent in our bodies, in our minds, in our experiences, in our relationships. You know, they tell you, love yourself first. Put your own oxygen mask on first. You can't give away what you don't have. If you can really know in your own heart of hearts that the peace of God is already there, that the power of life is exactly what you're feeling in your physical self, that when you center your attention on aligning with the greatest part of you, then as you move about your day, that is who you will be. That is how you will show up. That is who other people will meet. Be one with the water and listen to the boat. If you start to feel tippy, you need a moment to realign. If you're losing your way, if you're losing your forward momentum, then pause. Reassess, reposition, and start again. Again, in The Art of Life, Ernest Holmes says, life flows into everything through everything. It passes into every human event and translates itself through every human act. If you learn to think of life as flowing through your every action, you will soon discover that the things you give your attention to are quickened with new energy, for you are breathing the very essence of being into them. Another way to read that sentence is that if you learn to think of love as flowing through your every action, you will soon discover that the things you give your attention to are quickened with new energy, for you are breathing the very essence of being into them. If you think of life as always bringing to you everything you need, you will have formed a partnership with the invisible, which will prosper you in everything you do. If you think of the organs and functions of your physical being as activities of that life, then automatically you will be healed. The spiritual gifts which people have so earnestly sought after, out of the anguish of their seeming incompleteness, are not something which a reluctant God has withheld from them. Quite the reverse. They are something which man in his ignorance has withheld from himself. Life is not vindictive. It's not withholding anything from you. It's not even waiting until you are good enough to receive. Life is love and beauty and wisdom and energy and imagination. You are using its power to the extent that you embody that knowledge that love is within you, that life is all that you are. So your call this week is to choose to bring that Christ consciousness, that unconditional love, that brotherhood, that forgiveness, that peace to your day. With yourself, with others, with circumstances. Bring that higher perspective to whatever's going on the ground, right? Ask yourself, what is the fear that's in this situation that's so uncomfortable? Or what is the fear in me that's making me want to not go outside today, or not pick up the phone, or not do what I'm supposed to do? What is the fear? And then ask yourself, what does love say to that? What would love do for healing? What would love know if I didn't have the fear? Notice how doing that throughout the week for yourself and in relation to others, in relation to your activities, notice all week long, what is it that shifts in you? What changes? What shifts in your actions? How might you be different in the world? I'm going to close with one more reading from The Art of Life. God is life, not some life, but all life. God is action, and not some action, all action. God is power, but not some power, all power. God is presence, not some presence, but all presence. God is pure spirit filling all space. This pure spirit animates your every act. There is a real you which lives in a real God, and the two are one. To know this is to understand the secret of life. To realize this, to make real in your own life. To realize this is to understand your relationship with the divine presence. And to realize that the law of God is written in your own mind is to make available to you a power which can meet every need. This life is yours. You are meant to live it abundantly. And where we are in life is in the all in all. It can only be so. And so it is. Namaste. So let's take a moment in prayer. Breathing in this idea that life, all of life, is love. And that this love is the true essence of spirit by any name. And that right where we are is the very power and energy of this life, this love, what we call God. that there is in our minds and our hearts and our actions an infusion of Spirit moving through us always. There's a light within us which cannot be extinguished. And so today I choose to see that light in myself, in others. Today I choose to recognize that what I am seeking begins within. I release anything that looks like fear or doubt, any anxieties or disbelief. Turn my attention within to that core of me which knows only truth. To that place within where I am strong and resilient and at peace. And I choose today to live from this place so that I might recognize the light of God in everyone I meet. So that I might see love in action coming from me and towards me in every situation. So that I might not be blinded by what appears to be negative or destructive or toxic. For what I know is that love heals all wounds, that light dissipates all darkness, and that in my life, as my life, that light, that love cannot be denied. And so from this place, I give great thanks, blessing all I meet, blessing my own self, my small self, for the times it does not recognize the knower within me, blessing those I meet who are acting from their fear rather than their love, blessing and knowing that each of us on the path is seeking that same golden thread of truth, which is love, always available in all ways. I speak my word that I am a conduit of light and love into the world, for I know myself in truth. And for this I am grateful. And I release my word into spiritual law, for I know that in the consciousness of the one, in the one mind of God that is also my mind, it is already done. For as I speak, it manifests. And I simply allow it to unfold in space and time as it will, in time and on time, perfectly, the highest and best for all. It is good, for it is all God, and so it is. So I invite you to say our affirmation, which you will find in your program. I will speak the sentence so that our friends at home can repeat along with you. Repeat after me. I embrace my life and who I am in it. My truth shines forth. And so it is. So you might want to put this one on your fridge to remind you every day to be and look for that truth, that light in everything that you do all week long. And then next week, I'll check in, see how we're doing. All right, so let's have a little more music. Invite Drac back up. Thank you.
So I'm kind of reflecting on the whole finding your center balanced in the core truth of who you are through the Christ consciousness, that Reverend Tracy talked about. And I wrote a piece years ago called A New Beginning, and I chose this because I think that when we come to that place where we shift our consciousness to see ultimately really what we are, the greatness that we are inside, it's a new beginning every single time. And I brought a quote with me that I love by Maya Angelou. I think she really got it. She said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. A new beginning.
Perfect, just perfect. Thank you, Drek. Thank you so much. So I want to acknowledge again that your contributions are what make this community work, gives us the means to do what we do, to keep the air conditioner on. And so I thank you for all that you give and all that you do. I want to invite you to say our prosperity affirmation with me, because we are, in fact, very prosperous if you will. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. And as Edith Ann used to say, and that's the truth. See, some of you are old enough to know who Edith Ann is. Thank you very much. Okay, some announcements, invitations, things to do here at the center. Wednesday night, we have our gateway service. We have meditation before here in the foyer, the practitioner room off the foyer at 6:15. And at 7, we're in the chapel. And this week, we have a new guest presenter, Ingrid Rieger. She is a meditation guru. That's not really the right word. There's all kinds of like letters after her name and all kinds of trainings. And, you know, you'll recognize something. Well, anyway, I'll just let you read it in the e-blast. Basically, she's fabulous, and she's leading our meditation service on Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the chapel. So I would invite you to come. The theme is tuning into the power of the heart for inner peace. How many people would like to have more inner peace? I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you, Ingrid, for making that happen. We are still gathering names and availability for our spiritual circles. We're inviting you to step into a 6-week support circle of love where prayer is exchanged, prayer requests are exchanged among the members of each group and prayed on each week, and then a chance the following week to talk about what has shifted, what has changed, what healings have happened, and so forth. You know, the best thing to do is just experience it. We heard Mickey talk about the power of prayer when we first started talking about these circles, and I can tell you what I've experienced with the power of prayer. But the thing about this philosophy is that you're supposed to prove it to yourself. So this is a nice, fun way to do it. You get to know a couple people a little bit better than just saying hi on Sunday mornings. And you really get to tap into the power of what spiritual mind treatment can do in your own life and for others, and receive the benefit of those who are holding your highest good in their consciousness. So take a look outside in the foyer. There's a sign-up sheet, a place to indicate, when you're available, whether you want to be in person or online. Put your name down, and Reverend Mary will get in touch with you, and we'll set the groups up and get started. We also have a couple of classes starting this month. The Essential Ernest Holmes is a class that looks at the what we believe statements that you'll find, for example, in the beginning of the Science of Mind magazine. It's the statement of faith that we have for this philosophy. And the class talks about Ernest Holmes. It looks at some of his lesser known writings, like not the textbook. This is more like the easy stuff he wrote. So join us for that. It's an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the man, but also a lot more about the philosophy. It's a 10-week class on Thursday nights beginning September 15th. That's just a couple weeks away. So please put your name on the list, give me your contact information, and we can talk about how to make that happen for you. If there's any question about the finances or what it might take, maybe you're going to be gone a couple weeks during that 10-week period, we can work all that out. Just talk to me, sign up, because your life is better when you're in class. Yes, do this. Yes, it is. Okay. The other class, we have a second class that's coming up on Tuesday nights, beginning September 20th, which is Spiritual Economics, taught by Reverend Mary. Spiritual Economics is not an economy book. Okay? What it is, it's an invitation to a more abundant life. And it's very practical, very approachable, and very spiritual. You're going to love the combination. So if you would like a little bit more ease and grace when you talk about, deal with money or time or love or anything else that you would like more of in your life, this is the class you want to sign up for. Now, Reverend Mary and I very specifically talked about these two classes, looked at the curricula, and decided, no, there won't be too much homework if you want to do both. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday nights, oh my gosh, you're going to be so spiritual, your friends won't know what to do with you. So, again, there's a sign-up sheet in the foyer. Put your name down if you're interested, and we'll get the details to you right away. All right? Coming up in a couple weeks after service on the 18th, save the date, we're having an event. Event is center speak for a party. And this particular party has pizza. It also has prizes. And it also has a lot of ways for you to participate in your community. So we invite you to stay Sunday after service for something to eat and a little bit of fun and games. And just a chance to, we don't get a whole lot of chances to be in the same room socializing safely. So we want that to be Sunday the 18th, right after service. Plan on coming, plan on having a good time, and who knows, you may actually win a raffle prize. It could happen to you. And let's see, we have, and just our food donation box. Thanks to all of you who are bringing in non-perishable foods for our Foothill Family Shelter. We are getting that to the shelter every week or every 2 weeks, and it is greatly needed. So just remember, when you're at the grocery store, pick up 2 of everything and bring 1 set here, and we'll get that to people. Yes, Graham?
I noticed there's a box in the library and a box here in the hall.
Whatever goes into the box in the hall goes to both places. Yeah, we've been alternating between Hope Partners and Foothill Family Shelter. So it's, rather than have 2 boxes, we have 1 box and 2 itineraries. Okay, anybody else? Questions, comments, activities I forgot? All right then, let's wrap it up. We went a little long today. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry you had to sit in the air conditioning this long. All right, let's stand up and sing, shall we?
Take a look at the person next to you and say, God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together,